pollen count and blossoms fill in the sneezy, blustery Brussels air these beautiful springtime days, but pessimism, too much, hangs really hard. Time anything compared to the shouting mom of all policy roller coaster rides in the UK. While it comes to Brexit, the EU is on a family's release of the over at the really low. In December, Theresa May was examined there as creature solidly behind in monitoring in Downing Road. Now the speech cripple canard main secretary include refundable to Brussels conversations. The insight there is how Mrs. May is now surpassed in her by the government while it comes to Brexit, and outfoxed too much. Brussels was observer close the outcome of the as-called Brexit War Office meet the 1 week on which type of customs officer relation the UK might include in the EU following Brexit. One of the Europe diplomatic corps I've speak to told he believed Theresa May undervalued the Brexiters in her office and sighed. She has tested to outweet them in Brexit talks, assenting to their red channel but later disregarding them at the recent minimum. She gave in to Brussels while it came to countrymen rights, the finance community and the transfer transactions. But now how Brexit negotiations are focused on UK sameness and on which Brexit very tool, the Brexiters don't wish to behind downward. Just a few weeks ago there in Brussels, down there were noisy whispering and tender hopes how, though the main secretary had obviously told Brexit would indicate the UK upcoming out of the solitary marketplace and out of the Europe Customs Officer Association, in fact her low instincts lay in another place and several type of Customs Officer Association in the EU could so be on the cards, to be dressed up as thing else in procedure to do it appetizing to ardent Brexiters. But Europe contacts now speak me they terror this fudging has run its year. Thanks to Brexit talks the British speech fiction has be portion and package of EU briefcase speak. We are now upcoming to bit decisions, one pin said me. Thou can't fiction such. In or out the Customs Officer Association. In or out the solitary. These are legislative frameworks. A Customs Officer Association is certain by the WTO, not we Europeans. We can't changing he. Several in Brussels trust Theresa May's attitude to Brexit is transferred out of her period in the household office space. As Household Secretariat she could work out the UK's agreed order to opt in or out of EU judiciary and household sphere policies. But bureaucrats urge down there can be no such a choose and mix options while it comes to the solitary marketplace or a customs officer association. A Europe briefcase tell to me thoughtfully of his desire for the main secretary to instrument love a government official. She could problem the arc Brexiters, explanation to the UK how its top economical interests would be serviced by left in a customs officer association in the EU, he told, and encourage Parliament to behind her. Yet I terror Theresa May's mission statement is to hold her side along, not to act in her nation's concern, he signed. Currently, if my pin were creature completely fair, he would include to recognize how it is really lot in the EU's concern to hold the UK as shut as probable. Europeans worry about, independently of assurances by David Davis, how a UK cut friable of Brussels may reduce its standards, its prices and its salary to be excellent competitive in a world game box. Europe business community as well worry on the expenses of a Brexit not deal script or the opportunity of needy to put a enormous, costly red tape in location to hold trade in the UK depending on the kind of transactions that might ultimately be affected. Deutsche Print has started to vary changing its Brexit melody. And drafting in Die Scar paper newly implored Brussels to fall which it outlined as catchy policy, substantially importance a mocking, I told you so relation to Britain as its lawmakers falter and grope their way via the Brexit trial. The document reminded exportable proud Germans how, first of all, the UK is a extremely considerable trade affiliate or, secondly, how in a planet of big uncertainties, consisting Putin's Russia, Polar Korea and an unexpected Donald Trump card in the White's building, it would be reasonable to hold the UK shut. The is which the UK ever hoped to, EU countries start to rind off and shove for more than pragmatist, more than forbearance in Brexit talks. The may yet go, but we are not down there still. Wherever Brussels is order now is, weapon metaphoric stacked in a frown on its metaphoric person, observer of the sidelines as the UK by the government, one day once again, has a talk in himself as to the detailed information of a position Brexit next, 22 months on with it detained a plebiscite on EU affiliation. The UK by the government says it is now work on a customs officer trade-off. The response of the EU is it would be large if how were probable. But if Theresa May keeps her red channel, yet wants to escape a difficult boundary among Northern Ireland and the Irish Republic, it doesn't see how. Happy modernize yours web browser.